look at yourself and see all the reasons why God shouldn't choose you. The doubts, the sins, the starts and stops in your faith, the habits you still haven't broken, the days you pretended to trust Him while quietly falling apart inside. And maybe deep down, you've believed the lie that God only uses people who have it all together. But the truth is, God has never been drawn to perfection. He's drawn to surrender. He's not looking for flawless people. He's looking for willing hearts. People who know they're weak, but say yes anyway. Because it's not your strength that proves His power. It's your weakness. Moses said he couldn't speak. David had a past. Peter had a temper. Paul had blood on his hands. And still, God chose them. Not because of who they were, but because of who He is. You don't have to be confident. You don't have to be impressive. You just have to be available. Because when God chooses you, it's not a compliment. It's a calling. You've been taught that calling looks like confidence, that being used by God means being loud, bold, visible. But God often works in reverse. He chooses the hidden, the overlooked, the ones who still struggle to believe they're chosen at all. Because when He picks the underdog, no one can steal His glory. You keep thinking you're not ready, but what if readiness isn't a requirement, just a myth? What if God doesn't need you to feel ready? He just needs your yes. He knew every flaw before He called your name, every insecurity, every addiction, every failure you haven't told anyone. And still, He didn't walk away. He walked closer. His grace doesn't wait for you to clean up. It meets you in the middle of the mess. And the ones who know they're weak, they're the ones He can trust with strength, because they don't steal the spotlight. They point it back to Him. Maybe you've been sitting on the sidelines because you think your past disqualifies you. Or maybe it's your present, the sin you're still stuck in, the questions you still don't have answers for, the doubt that creeps in every time you try to believe again. You feel like a fake, like God picked wrong, like you're the exception to His grace. But grace isn't fragile. It doesn't shatter when it meets your reality. It digs in, it holds on, and it reminds you, you were never chosen because you were flawless. You were chosen because He's faithful. You were picked not in spite of your weakness, but because it's the place where His strength shines best. The enemy wants you to stay silent, to sit back, to let shame chain you to the version of yourself you used to be. But God is calling you out of hiding, not into perfection, but into purpose. He doesn't need you cleaned up. He needs you to say, "Here I am." And sometimes, that's the most powerful prayer you can pray. God doesn't need your resume. He already knows your weaknesses, and He still wants you. He's not interested in your curated image. He's after your heart, the one that's bruised, the one that's tired, the one that keeps showing up even when it wants to quit. That's who He calls, not because of what you've done, but because of what He's about to do through you. And maybe that's why it's been hard. Maybe that's why the battle won't let up. Because when you're chosen, you're targeted. When you're called, you're tested. And sometimes the warfare is just confirmation that the assignment is real, that what God put in you is so significant, hell is trying to shut it down before it starts. But it won't work, because what God ordains, no man can cancel. What God chooses, He also equips. And your weakness, it's not an obstacle, it's the proof that His power is at work in someone who has no strength of their own. You don't have to pretend you're strong anymore. You just have to stay surrendered. Maybe you're waiting to feel worthy before you say yes, but God didn't wait for your worth. He called you in the middle of your mess, because being chosen has never been about qualifications. It's about availability. He's not asking you to be ready. He's asking you to be real. You think you're too weak? Good. That means you won't try to steal His glory. That means you'll lean on Him instead of yourself. And that's exactly who He can trust with purpose. Not the proud, not the perfect, but the ones who walk with the limp and still show up. You might feel small, but the God who chose you is not. And when He places His hand on your life, no insecurity, no failure, no sin is stronger than His call. He doesn't consult your past to decide your future. He speaks purpose over broken people, and they become vessels of power. You're not waiting to be chosen. You already are. Now it's just time to believe it. You don't have to wait until you feel ready. You don't have to wait until you stop struggling. You don't even have to wait until you feel worthy. If God has called you, go. If He has chosen you, believe it. Because the calling on your life isn't based on your perfection. It's based on His promise. You weren't chosen because you're strong. You were chosen so His strength could be seen through you. He knew your battles before you ever stepped into them. And still, He put purpose in your hands. That's grace. That's calling. That's what it means to be loved by a God who sees beyond what you are and speaks to what you're becoming. You don't have to rise to the standard. He came down to meet you. And now He's saying, let's build something from the mess, from the weakness, from the parts you thought disqualified you. Someone you know is still questioning if they're usable. Let them know, God never makes accidental choices. What's one moment where you felt too weak, and God still showed up?